This is Boom Bust, broadcasting around the world and covering all aspects of our global economy in the 21st century. I'm Daniel Brito in Washington. Christy I is on assignment. Today's show will be a whirlwind tour of the world, but we start with a gloomy global warning.
Growth has been slowing, and we very much fear that it's becoming entrenched at low level.
The OECD has edited its outlook for global growth, citing trade conflict and an uncertain future in Europe. Jeffrey Tucker of the American Institute for Economic Research lends us a hand to sift through the strains on world markets and moves from central banks. Plus, as AI continues to rise, what role will it play in business? Christy I managed to catch up with Abhinav Singhal of ThyssenKrupp Asia to get his take on our brave new world of artificial intelligence and finance. Get in the business mindset. Boom Bust is starting now. Let's go. And Boom Bust Zone. Christy I may still be on assignment, but we've got plenty of content in the can from her coverage in Singapore. During the AI Summit in Singapore, Christy was able to catch up with Abhinav Singhal, the Chief Strategy Officer for ThyssenKrupp Asia Pacific, to discuss how the German multinational manufacturer is looking to implement artificial intelligence and automation into their business, as well as the future of the emerging technology as a whole.
Right now, I know of ThyssenKrupp as just a heavy manufacturing industry company. What are you guys doing with AI and automation?
So, just to give you an introduction on ThyssenKrupp, we have 5 basic product segments. We are into manufacturing of steel, which is commonly known for in Europe. Then we are doing material trading, we do automotive components, we do elevators and escalators, which is the most common product everybody can see around them. And then we also build plants and mining, cement, chemical machines. Now, the question of where do we see AI? I think with the advent of technology, we realize that if you're not changing the way we are designing these machines and equipments, if you're not reading the data we're getting out of these machines, then we are soon uncompetitive in the market. So the way we think about technology is, what is the current business problem we have? For example, can I predict in advance when my machine is going to fail, and I can save millions of dollars of the plant operational cost? Or can I predict when is the next elevator going to fail, and I can do the repair on the downtime. So these are the business problems we are running after, and using AI and IoT to improve the way we are working and operating for our customers.
So where do you think we are in this AI trend now? Because we first had the first wave, which was just big data and analysis of big data. And then we had the advent of like machine learning and neural nets and everything else. And the third main phase of AI, which we're kind of starting to get into, is more so predictive, as you just alluded to, predictive analysis and inference. So do you see that we're getting into that now, and how does connectivity play into it?
As much as I would like to create the hype and continue, let's say, Elon Musk's ambition of AI, I think in companies, at plants and sites, honestly speaking, we are still quite early in the AI journey, because before you get predictive, you need around 50,000 plus data sets to run the algorithm and start creating some meaningful insights. So there, I would say around 70-80 use cases we are playing with, but the potential is still 5 or 10% of what we could actually do in the end. So we are still in an early stage, and we are on the transition of being reactive to predictive.
So earlier when we were just talking, you mentioned that Singapore is one of the most innovative countries, and that's kind of why you guys are here. Where do you see Singapore going, and which country do you see spearheading this entire shift towards AI?
So I often tell this to my colleagues: when you look at the world innovation rankings, you realize that Singapore, Japan, and Korea are always part of the top 10 most innovative countries in the world. And coming from a European company, we undermine that. So what's unique about Singapore is there is a very advanced adoption by the government towards new technologies. So they are the first test bed of piloting new technology. One example is autonomous vehicles, for example. Second is they have a very mature funding mechanism and industry institute partnership mechanism, which means as a company, if I want to invest in AI or 3D printing, let's say for that example, I get some support and funding and incentives from the government, which is the catalyst I need as a company to make my business case positive. And then we have a healthy ecosystem of startups, regional headquarters of big major companies. So I would say Singapore has a very unique mix of funds, talent, companies, and the whole ecosystem coming together, making it a very innovative environment.
And I think talent is going to be one of the big barriers and big hurdles in the future, because while you have a lot of people worried about them being out of a job, you are also missing this emerging crop of highly talented individuals. So do you see that being a huge barrier in the future?
I couldn't agree more with that. I think talent is a big topic to run and execute digitalization initiatives and efforts. And what you realize is that it is not about job losses versus job gain, because the numbers could be 20, 30, 40% depending on which country market you're talking. But ultimately, more than 80% or almost 100% of jobs will transition or will get changed. Because there are some tasks which you and me do in our daily lives, which makes sense to be done by a machine because they are structured, repetitive, automatable, and they are the best owner. And there are some tasks like empathy, creative intelligence, complex, unstructured thinking, which are better suited for human beings. So the way we are trying to address the talent challenge is thinking about reskilling and retraining our workforce to make them ready for new technologies. Because if tomorrow I fight with Google for a data scientist, I can place bets on it, I will always lose. We would never be attractive enough as an industrial company to a software or a data scientist. So how do I reskill my people? That is the only way out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it comes to a big argument. I think that there are more jobs and more salary gain than as opposed to job losses, which a lot of people are complaining about.
I think it's a meaningless debate.
It is.
Because you're then scratching the surface, 20, 30% job loss, job gain. It's not about the number, it's about each and every one, including you and me, thinking about what skills do I need to remain relevant in society in future, and how can I get rid of the tasks which are not really meaningful and focus more on tasks which I'm good at as a human being.
Exactly, and then by that, productivity just accelerates by
Correct.
a multiple.
And if you think about the oldest professions of the world, right? So if you go 10,000, 20,000 years back, you would still have artists, you would still have painters, musicians, all the creative traits or professions have survived all the stages of industrial revolution. So I think if we continue focusing on stuff which human beings are good at, our empathy and our creativity, we will always remain relevant and we'll create an even more meaningful society for future.
I guess now the question is, what is the big bottleneck of the industry right now? Because we're here talking about emerging tech, we're talking about AI, automation, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and as well as 5G networks. And right now we are at the very forefront because every single one of these industries that just mentioned, we're like at 1% penetration of what it could possibly be in the future. So for you, what do you see as the big bottleneck of the industry?
I think possibly the single biggest bottleneck is the friction between the technologist and the P&L owner. Okay, I see myself sitting in between the two. So we have a P&L owner, a business owner, a CEO who has to focus on quarterly results and who has to focus on a margin target, a revenue target. And you have a technologist who's developing the gold standard technology and talking about data science, and we have to find the interface where we take relevant business use cases where there is a problem either for the customer which we can solve, or on the operations cost which we can reduce, and then connect the right technology to it. I think this interface is the real bottleneck in the adoption. You have a lot of people who are excited, but they're at 20,000 feet and they have financial targets. You have a lot of people who are creating very cool products, but has no market for it. If we can match these two together, case by case, industry by industry, I think then it can really accelerate the adoption. And to do this, you also need incentives, you need talent, and all the standard challenges which come with it.
You're absolutely correct. You're transforming an entire industry, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Correct.
Abhinav, thank you so much for bringing this to us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And that's it for this time. You can catch Boom Bust on DirecTV Channel 321, Dish Network Channel 280, or streaming 24/7 on Pluto TV, the free TV app Channel 279, or as always, you can hit us up at youtube.com/BoomBustRT. See you next time.